Calling all higher ed marketing and enrollment management professionals. Hear, hear. The Insights EDU conference is back. This is your chance to level up your marketing and enrollment management strategies, and the EdUp Experience podcast will be there once again. Join us at the Ritz-Carlton, New Orleans, February 12th through 14th for an unforgettable conference. Registration is now open with early bird pricing.
Outstanding.
Hey everybody, this is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience, and today we are extremely excited to announce our paid subscription service. By subscribing today, you will get exclusive early access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content. That's right, original content, and invites to special events, all while helping to sustain EdUp. To become a subscriber, go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and subscribe to our free email newsletter to learn how you can get access. Again, go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com.
Well, welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is your special guest host, at least one of them, and I'm Dr. Lori Shannon, and I'm the host of EdUp Accreditation, and I'm joined by
Junaid Iqbal, and I'm happy to be on this podcast with Jason.
Thank you so much, Junaid. You know, our guest today, as you mentioned, is Jason Feifer, and he is the editor-in-chief of Entrepreneur Magazine. He's a podcast host, a book author, a keynote speaker, startup advisor, and a nonstop optimism machine. And his goal is to help you become more resilient and adaptable in a world of constant change. And, you know, he's been featured in Entrepreneur, The Today Show, New York Times, Washington Post, just to name a few. So we're not speaking with someone who doesn't know their way around this type of material today. So welcome, Jason.
Well, thanks for having me. Really nice to be here.
Yeah. And, you know, I got a chance to look at some of the things that you were doing. And if you could just briefly for us talk about maybe your opportunity set A and set B, which I know was a big part about your latest book.
Oh, yeah, sure. So I am, as you said, the editor-in-chief of Entrepreneur Magazine. And what does that mean? Well, honestly, what that means is that I have the pleasure and honor of learning from and studying the most impressive entrepreneurs and leaders and understanding how people grow incredible careers. And one of the things that I found people do, and that I had been doing myself throughout my career, though I didn't really have a name for it for a long time, was something that I call work your next job. And work your next job is this in front of you right now, everyone who's listening to this. And there are two sets of opportunities. There's opportunity set A and opportunity set B. Opportunity set A is everything that is asked of you. So you have a job and you have a boss and there are expectations of you, of things that you have to do, and you're evaluated on your performance of those things. That's opportunity set A. Do a good job at that. But then there's opportunity set B. And opportunity set B is everything that's available to you that no one is asking you to do. If you work at a company, that could be joining another team or taking on some new responsibilities, but it could also be something outside of work. It could be that you like listening to podcasts and you say, you know, I would like to start my own podcast. My argument to you is that although opportunity A is important, opportunity set B is always more important, infinitely more important, because if you only focus on opportunity set A, if you only focus on the things that you are already qualified to do, then the only available options for you in the future will be to do the things that you are already qualified to do. But opportunity set B is where growth happens. Opportunity set B is where you push yourself, even if you don't know the ROI on your investment of time or energy or money, you push yourself into creating new future opportunities by using your time right now. That is how I built my career. And I have found that everyone who I have studied has done something similar.
That is pretty interesting. Jen, I'm going to let you get at it. I just have one quick question before we open up. So in your theory, opportunity set B, it represents unmasked opportunities that lead to growth, right? Just all the other things that you should be doing. The ones that you're doing are fine, but it's when you tap into all of these other things that are available to you to help you grow. since the EdUp experience is about higher ed and education, I just have a quick question for you.
Sure.
Can you tell us how students and educators in higher education might identify and leverage their own opportunity set B?
Yeah, absolutely. So, right. Let me first define the most important part of opportunity set B. And it is the word that I use there, available. Things that are available to you, but that no one is asking you to do. The important thing to remember is that there are a lot of things available to you, more than you're thinking. Typically, we think of what's available to us as just the things that happen to be right in front of us, the things that somebody had presented us. But that's not the case. If you, for example, are a student, then let me tell you what is available to you. Well, first of all, obviously, there are the incredible educational opportunities that are available to you at whatever institution you're at. But also, as the editor-in-chief of a national magazine and a guy who advises startups and helps people build businesses, I get a lot of people who reach out to me all the time, and they ask for help or a little bit of my time. And I'm not alone in this, I am more responsive to students than almost any other group, because I know that students are in this learning mode, and they're these sponges of information, and the ambitious ones who are willing to step out and reach out to me, even though they're still in university or whatever. Like, I know, oh, those are really ambitious people, and I will do my best to make time for them. And I know that that is the case for so many other people. So that is available to you as a student. What's available to you is leveraging your status as a student and as the rare student who will reach out and ask for advice, and someone is going to be more responsive to you at this moment in your life than they will be the second that you step outside of that institution. And so that's the way that you have to start thinking. That is what available means. It's not visible. It's not something that somebody's telling you to do, but it is available to you. And once you start to leverage that, you realize that there are opportunities everywhere. And I would say the same is exactly true, actually, for faculty. Like the access that you have as a professor at an educational institution is very different than the access that other professionals have, and it's worth leveraging that.
Agreed. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, so I want to add to that. So funny enough, Jason and I were actually on a call years ago. We had the same creator manager.
That's right.
He was giving us advice on how to create content. And Jason is living, breathing, walking proof of someone who took it to the next level, right? He's sort of working. He had this opportunity on different platforms to create content, and he ran with it. And I want to say, to add on to that, is that you need to have the job you want before you have it. Right? It's not like if you want to be a podcast host, you want to work in the podcast industry, you want to get involved in some capacity or fashion. And from a higher education perspective, you don't just choose a master. Let's say you want a master's degree in data science. You're not going to walk in and not know anything about data science. You're going to make sure that you learn as much as you can. That the best students are ones like, you're going to see a lot of computer science students. They're not learning how to program the day they set into the classroom. They're doing a lot of research well before they ever get into the major. So they already have some momentum. So for all of you who are thinking about your next move and you want this dream career, you have to be a marketer before you officially get the title. You have to be a product manager before you officially get the title. It's not like one day you do it. A lot of people who write books, right? It's not the first time writing. They'll write in certain capacities and they'll do things. They'll help other people on books so that when it's their time to shine, they already have some skill sets and they're not starting from zero.
Jason, there's part of what you said, what you both really articulated so very well, that I think I've done and I've advised students and other people to do, but I think you take it a bit further. I always say when you're in your current role, look at the things that you need to master so you could be in your next role. But I think you just put so much power behind that and so much license and allowing individuals to really understand, to take a look at the resources and how you could leverage all the information and your status to have greater opportunity. But you do talk about this conversation with Ryan Reynolds, right? And the ability and the willingness to be bad at something in order to eventually become good at it. And In your estimation, how should higher education institutions teach and frame the concept of failure and experimentation to students?
Well, that's a big question. And Janae, by the way, I just have to say I totally agree with what you're saying there. And a framework that I really like about building off of the available, and then Lori, I'll answer your question, is if you have an idea of where it is that you want to go, ask yourself these three questions. What do I have? What do I need? What's available? To go back to the question of available, right? What do I have? What do I need? What's available? Like what resources, what access, what experience do I have right now? What do I need to get to that next level? And therefore, who do I need to connect with? What experiences do I need to get? How do I need to change the way that I'm approaching? And then what things are available to me that can help me get there? When I was a student, I wanted to be a big writer. And I thought, well, what's available to me right now? And the answer was freelancing for like student publications, not just the publications on campus, but I found publications that were serving students nationwide, music publications that were aimed at campuses, for example, and writing for them, which gave me access to a broader range of editors and a broader range of audience than I would have ever otherwise gotten. That stuff is so important. What do I have? What do I need? What's available? Anyway, Lori, to your question. So that thing that Ryan Reynolds said to me was, to be good at something, you have to be willing to be bad. And what he was talking about was something he learned as he was transitioning from acting into business. He has been wildly successful in business. He had an advertising agency, obviously, as many people know, controlling stakes in Aviation Gin and Mint Mobile and some other businesses. He didn't know how to do any of that stuff. But what he found was that if he was able to tolerate being bad for long enough, he could get to good. And most people are not willing to tolerate that. Most people think that at the very beginning, you will discover if you're good at something or if you're not, and people will get discouraged because they're not good at something. But the real difference maker isn't whether or not you're good at something at the beginning, but whether you're willing to tolerate being bad long enough to get to good. So how can institutions help students learn that? I mean, part of the challenge of answering that question is that there are a lot of things in life that are only learned from experience. And I think that that's one of them. It doesn't matter how many times you tell me that I can endure and get up from failure or teach me strategies to do it. It only matters that I have done it myself and I have learned that. So I think that the greatest thing that an educational institution can do is that they can help get students into real world experiences. That like the most valuable things that I did in college. I went to Clark University. I got my bachelor. I got a BA in English. I'd say the most valuable thing that I did while I was at school was, well, number one, I ran the student magazine, which was there was no interaction with the school itself. Like, we didn't have a faculty advisor. We had nothing. It was just completely on our own. And then number two is that I interned at the local paper. And interning at the local paper, which was something that the school helped me get, that taught me so much. That was where I first wrote for a larger audience. They put me on TV. I bombed. It was so embarrassing, but it was so helpful. And I came to learn for myself that I am an experiential learner. I will learn infinitely faster by doing something than by having somebody teach me that. And I think a lot of people are like that. And so I want to see more institutions create real world opportunities for their students, because that's where they're going to go out into the world. They're going to make some big mistakes. They're going to discover that those mistakes are not career killers at their very beginning, and they're going to learn and they're going to grow and they're going to eventually become comfortable with those stumbles.
To add on to that, I want to say, like, one thing about school, right? School, you're not encouraged to fail, right? You're always given grades. And if you get a bad grade or a failing grade, that's really bad in school. So I think you need to have instances where it's okay to fail, and where they're not grades, where it's more about effort and clarity. And to work with businesses, I think to form partnerships with alumni who have businesses and all that, that's something that education institutions can do well, right? People love mentoring students. They love that, and they need the support. So it's like, if it's a marketing program, maybe you have a couple of people, it's like, hey, help market the startup. Because oftentimes when we learn marketing or when we learn a topic, everything's perfect, right? You have unlimited resources and you have these perfect campaigns, but in the real world, you have budgets, you have limited time, you have limited scope, you can only do certain things at certain times. So I think when students get that insight, then they really learn, okay, I only have like a $10 a day budget. What can I do with it? Right. And it really forces them to think. And one thing about students is students tend to be really scrappy. And I think it's a value add for the business that they get additional resources from the students. And the students actually get some real world experience.
I cannot believe that we're already in the back half of 2024.
Are you kidding me?
But here we are. Before you know it, the calendar will be turning again. And that means we are already getting ready for 2025 conferences. And one that I'm personally very excited to attend again is the Insights EDU conference. If you care at all about growing enrollment and building a student-centered higher ed experience, you really should be at this conference. Registration is now open, so secure your spot while early bird pricing is still available. Visit insightsedu.com for more information and to register. That's visit insightsedu.com for more information and to register.
Hey everybody, this is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience. Are you enjoying the conversation so far? Good, I hope so. Did you know that you can actually hear this conversation early before anybody else and ad-free, so you don't have to hear my voice during these ads? And did you also know that you could get extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content? That's right, original content and invites to special events, all while helping to sustain EdUp? Well, if you didn't know, now you know. So go to edupexperience.com, that's EDUP experience.com, and become a subscriber today. First, you got to sign up to our free email newsletter, and then you'll find out how to become a subscriber. Again, go to edupexperience.com.
I mean, I love what you said, Jeanette, about the real world experience, and both of you about the experiential learning. It's been quite a bit of a challenge after COVID, because when a lot of programs had to go online, getting that experiential piece in was a bit more of a challenge, as it still is, because students now have to work, they have families, they have so many things to do. So it makes it a bit more difficult for them to get that, but it is critical and essential to their mastery of any subject content. But given your diverse career path and the skills you developed along the way, doing a few different things, what cross-disciplinary skills do you think will be most valuable for students entering the workforce in the next several years?
Well, obviously everyone's talking about AI and the way in which technology is going to radically change the way in which a lot of jobs and industries operate. But I'll tell you the consistent thing that I am hearing throughout those conversations, and that is how there's going to be an increasing premium on humanity, on soft skills, on being able to connect one-on-one, on being able to navigate as a human, complex relationships. Those are going to become ever more important as technology takes over a lot of the things that, frankly, humans were doing, but that could easily be automated anyway. And I'm hearing a lot of predictions that as things become more automated and as there could be increasing distrust about whether or not you're interacting with a human or whether you're getting the right information in digital environments, that there's going to be even more business happening in person, that people are going to put a premium on meeting in person, more in-person events. I think it's really, really interesting to see how frequently I'm hearing those kinds of thoughts, because it tells me that it tells me, I think, partially where everyone's mind is going, but also where people's itches are right now. I see it myself, right? I can spend all day in front of a screen and get a lot of work done, but man, do I just need to get outside and just get coffee with somebody. And so I think that one of the most important things that an institution can do is help students develop those soft skills and help them appreciate the deep nature of interpersonal professional relationships. I am reminded as I'm saying this of something that my wife got a a journalism degree and also an MBA in creative writing. And now she does both. She writes novels and she also does a lot of freelance journalism. And in both cases, she was really frustrated by the curriculum's lack of teaching towards actual real world interactions. So by that, I mean that she was put through classes and classes about theory, journalism theory and fiction theory, and like all these like highfalutin things, but nobody was teaching her how to interact with an editor and how to pitch an editor and how to simplify things so that you can get your idea across really fast, right? The actual like tangible where the rubber meets the road, where you teach these big ideas and then bring them down to the actual level of industry where you're going to interact with other professionals. That is often not taught, and it needs to be. It is perhaps the most important.
We used to do that in schools at the higher levels, the seniors, and they had the practicums, and they had that type of exchange. We've just seen such a shift in higher education over the last 20 years, but really like over the past 8 to 10, where, technology has replaced that interpersonal connection.
Yeah.
Students are in their phones and on their tablets, and, you can order things and not speak to people. You can do so many things in an automated way that I agree. That piece is missing, and teaching that is very challenging given our current climate and the ability to not interact should you not want to.
But holy cow, is it going to be so important? I mean, like listen, like everyone should just rewind 45 seconds and hear, Lori, like what you just described there, and then see where the missing opportunity is. Because you were just describing a lot of automation happening. So imagine how much sales is being automated, for example, which means that if you are become a really good, like human to human salesperson, you have a skill set and you are able to differentiate yourself in a marketplace of bots selling things that will be unparalleled in its value. So you need to know that stuff, because as soon as everything becomes automated, everything is going to become undifferentiated. And the real competitive advantage that you will have as a professional entering the workforce is going to be trust. It's going to be relatability. It's going to be projecting a responsibility. Like those kinds of things cannot be undervalued. And I do worry that if we lean too heavily into just teaching people about how things can get automated, then you're not going to focus on that thing that's really actually going to separate you from everybody else.
So there's this concept I've been hearing from different people, and they talk about the last mile.
Yeah.
And where AI doesn't do well, it doesn't do the last mile well. So for example, there are a lot of these automated things. You can write a paper, you can write XYZ, you can get social media clips edited. What happens is it gets you 80% there. But in a world where everyone's 80%, you're basically at 0. And if you want to stand out, it's that last 10 to 20%. How do you write that exceptional paper? How do you create that video that actually goes viral? Because you get these, and you can see these online where it's like clear that people just put this interview to a clip, right? You have to get good at, how do I pick an amazing clip? How do I edit it in such a way? You can have AI do the task, maybe get you to the 80%, but you got to master that 10 to 20%. How do you adjust it? Because you can see AI social media posts, right? They put rocket emojis in a world where we do XYZ, and it's the same thing over and over again. And then the other thing that a lot of people have to realize, AI is trained on human data. Now, the thing about training is, people will say, hey, I can just ask AI to do this. When you go online and it pulls data, there's conflicting info. Right? There are different perspectives, right? How can you get an answer from different perspectives? So you have to lean in on different perspectives, and you have to bring your own unique perspectives to these things. Because a lot of times AI, when it comes to very niche subjects, it's actually very hard to find good info. Yeah, if you wanted to say, hey, how do I bake a cake? How do I do XYZ? Cool. But now if you're like, hey, how do I bake a custom cake from Ethiopia, where there are very few people who know the recipe, you may have to go to a niche YouTube channel where there's like a grandma baking this cake to kind of get that recipe, and you won't easily find that with AI. So really go that extra mile, add those details, and that's what's going to set you apart in a world where there's a lot of AI.
Yeah, it's the distinction between what's good and what do people actually want. And those are actually different things.
Jason, tell us some more about, I read your bio and your profile. It talks about when you I guess personally started to implement, option A, option B, but tell us about the real clicking moment for you when you thought, this is something and this is what people should really know about so that they could leverage this opportunity for their benefit.
Well, there were a couple, but I'll tell you, because we're talking about education, the one closest to my education, which was that I graduated college in 2002, which sounds like a million years ago now. And I took a job at the Gardner News, circulation 6,000 at the time in 2000. God knows what it is now, if it even exists. So anyway, it was a local newspaper in Gardner, Massachusetts. And I was just miserable. I was miserable there. And I was miserable because I had these big ambitions for myself. I wanted to write for big publications. I wanted to do big things. I didn't know what it was exactly, but really wanted to get there. And I started to resent my environment because it wasn't helping me advance there, or I wasn't getting calls from the New York Times or something. And eventually, after about a year, I came to realize a couple of really important things. Thing number one was, if I was better than this place, then I wouldn't be in this place. Like, let's be humble here. If I was better than this place, if I had the skills to work at a higher level, then I would be doing that. But instead, I'm here because this is the level of skill that I have, which is fine. I was like a year out of college. What did I know? And I needed to start to appreciate the like interpersonal skills of just humbleness and working with the team, regardless of where it is that you are. I was surrounded by people who were doing their best, even though they didn't have a lot to teach me, which is fine. Number two, I realized I was sitting around waiting to be noticed and recognized, and that was never going to happen because nobody ever comes to you. Never, ever. They never come to you. I had to go to them. That's what's so important, right? Like, I sit around at the Gardner News waiting for the New York Times to call. That's ridiculous. It's never going to happen. So I needed to go to them. I needed to go prove myself to the people who ultimately could impact my career in the direction that I wanted it to. And then number three, I thought, well, what does it take to get there? And to go back to that framework that I had shared a little earlier ago, which was, what do I need? What do I have? What do I need? What's available? I thought, well, okay, what do I have? What do I have is a job, and this job enables me to write on a regular basis, and it's teaching me some things like storytelling and interviewing. What do I need? Well, what I need is, if I want to get to a higher level, what I need to learn from editors who can really teach me and help me grow. I don't have access to that right now because the editors are at the same level that I'm at the Gardner News. So I need to start somehow writing for editors at larger publications who are going to help push me and refine me. And also, I need to be able to prove to those larger publications that I belong, that I can do work at that level. What's available? Well, what is available? What's not available is a job at the Washington Post. Not available. Nobody's going to hire me at the Washington Post. So like, what's available should never be about fantasy. It should always be about reality. What was available to me at that time was freelancing. I could come up with an individual story idea and pitch it to an editor, and they might want to pay me $300 or something to write it. And so that's why I quit. I quit that newspaper job. I sat in my bedroom in a dumpy apartment for $500 a month next to a graveyard in Holden, Massachusetts. And I just started cold pitching editors. And eventually I got some interested. I wrote for the Washington Post and the Boston Globe and the New York Times. And I started to develop exactly what it was that I needed to ultimately get my career going. And that is the thing that taught me opportunity set A and opportunity set B. Opportunity set A was showing up every day at the Gardner News and just doing my job. Opportunity set B was leaving and figuring out what else I could do right now that was within my grasp that would help me advance faster. And once that worked for me that time, I just started to repeat that process over and over again.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'll just add something quick. I want to say, put in the reps. You don't want your first opportunity to be on the biggest stage because you're going to flop, right? There are a lot of intricacies that you don't know when you're talking to. There's so many subtleties, right? And if your first article is for the New York Times, you're not going to know a lot about the process, right? You don't want to be a deer in headlights on the biggest stage. So put in the reps, right? You don't start at the gym benching 500 pounds, bench 50, bench 65, bench 70, so that you work your way up so that when you do get the opportunity, you know how to handle it, you know what you're going to use it for, and you can knock it out the park.
Yeah, I agree. Build to it. I actually hear from a lot of young people who want to start out at a national magazine. And I always tell them, like, look, it's possible you can do that, but you will be a small fish in a big pool, and you will get repetitive small level tasks. Or you could go to a smaller publication, a smaller organization, where you can do a lot of different things and you can develop a lot of skill sets. You become multifaceted and multi-talented. And then that experience is going to scale a lot better than, I aggregated news stories for a national publication for 2 years. That's just not going to get you nearly as far.
Well, Jonah, Jonah and I really appreciate the time to speak to you today, Jason. And we want to make sure that our listeners know about your book, know how to reach you, the Optimism King of America, and where to find more information about what you're doing, because I think it's critically important work. And it's a message, at least, that we can take back to higher education and say, we need to provide alternatives for our students. They need to, of course, get the technical skills, but they have to have these soft skills, and they need to have them and be able to leverage and negotiate those in a world that is going to put a premium on human interaction as we move into automation. But tell us where we can find the book and how we can with you.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, guys, great conversation. I really appreciate it. And thanks for including me. So I'll give you 2 ways to get more from me. So number one is, as you mentioned, the book. So I have a book. It's called Build for Tomorrow, an action plan for embracing change, adapting fast, and future-proofing your career. Just search for Build for Tomorrow wherever it is that you get books, in whatever format. There's audio book, there's ebook, there's hardcover. Build for Tomorrow. It's really a book designed to help people through moments of great change. And if you're going to graduate college, that is about as great a change as it comes. And then number 2 is I have a newsletter that is free, which is called One Thing Better. Each week, one way to improve your work and build a career or company that you love. So each week is just one that, as we talk this week, what I'm writing about is self-promotion and how to promote yourself to the people who can ultimately help you. So you can find that by going to the website onethingbetter.email. That's a web address. So just go to whatever browser, onethingbetter.email. So Build for Tomorrow is the book, onethingbetter.email is the newsletter. And thanks for having me.
Well, listen, you have to autograph a copy of the book for me. So
you got it.
Figure out how to get one to you. And I signed up for all of the newsletters on the website because they all looked amazing. So
thank you.
Take a look.
Oh my God. Well, thank you so much. I'm honored by that. Thank you. Well, we'll connect offline. I'll get you a signed copy. I would love to.
Absolutely. Well, Jonah and I, your co-host today, really appreciate everyone who participates in the EdUp experience. And you should check out all of the wonderful podcasts that are a part of the EdUp experience. EdUp Accreditation, of course, that's hosted by yours truly. There's EdUp Marcom, there's EdUp Admissions, EdUp. There's just so many opportunities for you to learn and stay connected to the higher ed industry. But thanks again, everyone. You've just been EdUp'd, and we appreciate your time with us today.
Higher education is evolving. And if you're in marketing and enrollment management, then you need to be at the Insights EDU conference.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Insights EDU 2025 is happening February 12 through 14 in New Orleans, Louisiana. This is your chance to explore the latest trends in higher education and discover new and innovative strategies to level up your program marketing and enrollment. Hear from some of the best speakers in the industry, from companies like Google, LinkedIn, Adobe, and more. Registration is now open, so secure your spot while early bird pricing is still available.
Hey everybody, this is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience. Did you enjoy that conversation? I hope you did. Did you know that you can actually hear this conversation early on and ad-free? And you can also hear extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content. That's right, original content, and invites to special events, all while helping to sustain EdUp. Did you know that? Well, if you didn't know, now you know. To become a subscriber, go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com to subscribe to our free email newsletter to learn how you can get access. Again, that's edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com.